The descent of the mainstream news media into just pitching political conspiracies about the other side has been pretty well documented. We've talked about it here on Detailed Diatribes, and I've seen it discussed elsewhere. That being said, I haven't really seen a good description of what happened to the rest of network television. When TV was the biggest media platform and you were getting more and more viewers every year, things were good for these networks. Business was booming, and even shows that didn't pull in the masses could be allowed to air. But with increased competition over a declining pool of viewers, the networks were forced to go deep into their bag of whatever sells. Not just in news, but in everything. The overwhelming strategy became to just steep whatever subject you are supposed to be covering in the most ridiculous conspiratorial nonsense you've ever heard, and the resulting media landscape we got should be documented and studied for hundreds of years. Like I said, the news media aspect of this has been covered a lot. I've also seen a lot of discussion about how the discourse around sports has changed. But there is an entire other category of network that was supposed to be originally educational that eventually lost their way. We have dubbed this convergence of these so-called educational news outlets feeding the masses bullshit the mystery industrial complex. My first exposure to this was pretty mild, but still relatively jarring. As a kid, I would watch hours and hours of the show River Monsters on Animal Planet. And if you haven't seen it, honestly, you should go watch it right now. This show absolutely slaps. I know I'm criticizing the media landscape right now, but it will get so much worse than this, and I have a special place in my heart for River Monsters. But anyway, to describe what actually happens in the show, the host, Jeremy Wade, travels all around the world and fishes for huge freshwater animals. Mostly fish, but sometimes other stuff too, like anacondas, sharks, or rays. Although, I guess sharks and rays are actually fish. But also, by the phylogenetic definition, snakes are also technically fish. So, yeah, I guess he just goes around and catches big fish. Anyway, that's not the show though. That's just what happens. But what is the plot of the show, you may ask? Every episode is presented as if it's some Scooby-Doo-esque mystery. The giant fish he is looking for is scapegoated for killing someone in the local village. Jeremy then goes out to investigate the murder. That's the plot of every episode. Now, for anyone who thinks that these people were actually being murdered by the river monsters, or by the actual fish that he caught down, come on guys. Clearly, he's just a really good fisherman who researched where to catch all these huge fish and wanted to do it. Especially because he ended the show after he caught pretty much every large animal that could live in fresh water. So yeah, if you didn't know, Jeremy Wade, not a real detective, just a guy who goes to cool places and catches big fish. But wrapping this in the packaging of the Scooby-Doo plot made it appealing to the masses, and River Monsters is to this day one of the top viewed programs on Animal Planet and Discovery Channel. Also, they would cut to commercial every time he got a fish on the line, which is an absolute masterclass in keeping viewership. I fucking love River Monsters. Don't email me.
Body of a woman, 2 girls devoured. It just goes on and on. But all this is just so tantalizing. There are no hard facts and figures unless you count something like that. If that was the equivalent of your front page story in the 16th century, would you go in the water?
Okay, but River Monsters really isn't that bad. It goes in the category of mostly harmless. Compare this to another Animal Planet show like Finding Bigfoot, which dials up the intrigue by just picking a completely non-existent creature. A similar strategy was done by Ghost Adventures, which was on the Travel Channel before moving to Discovery. But honestly, neither of those two shows were ever as popular as River Monsters. I think this is because River Monsters has the advantage of actually being able to catch the 500-pound fish that they claim are eating villagers.
And as I turned to look back, I caught something in the corner of my eye moving on the shoreline, and it kind of turned and faced me. It was definitely a big white creature. I yelled like a really super deep, loud yell, just to try to scare this thing away. But that didn't even seem to bother it one bit.
Ghost Adventures and Finding Bigfoot get pretty stale pretty fast because, well, they never really find much. The mystery industrial complex has the most success when they base their conspiracies partially in reality. In River Monsters, that's real fish. But this is small potatoes compared to the absolute disaster class of a program that is Ancient Aliens. which has the same model of a recyclable conspiracy like river monsters, but with the advantage of having way more source material to work with. The structure here is to just talk about literally any religious or historical event, and then say it was aliens. You must think that there's more to the show than that, but honestly, no. That's pretty much the entire thing. You can fully gather what you need to from it in one sentence, which is pretty rare from any form of media, but Ancient Aliens pulls it off. Brian Dunning calls the series a slap to the face of the ingenuity of the human race. So yeah. Now, these channels labeled as if they're educational, making shows on killer fish, Bigfoot, ghosts, and aliens is bad, but at least they're all presented with some skepticism, and at some level they're kind of presenting some real historical or scientific information. But in 2013, Discovery Channel officially took it too far. They presented an entirely fake documentary without any indication that it was nonsense, which claimed that the Megalodon could still be alive, somehow. To this day, this is their top viewed program aired on Shark Week ever. Yes, Megalodon, The Monster Shark Lives, is the top program in Shark Week history with 4.7 million viewers, 70% of which reported that after viewing the program, they believed that Megalodon was still alive. This program is the clearest break from the channel's original educational mission. This wasn't just sensationalism, this was complete fabrication, presented in the visual style of a documentary with actors playing scientists and CGI posing as real footage. What makes this moment significant is that it was not framed as fiction. There was no clear disclosure until the very end credits. This was not a misunderstanding, it was a business decision.
Well, I gotta say, considering the resistance you've been getting on this whole thing, even having her acquiesce a little bit, it's gotta seem like a victory to you.
Sure, yeah, maybe a little.
Yeah, but you weren't ready to bring this to the public yet.
No, the phrase I kept hearing from detractors is they wanted hard evidence.
And you say you found that now.
I did.
All right, we'll take a look at that in just a minute.
Discovery realized that ambiguity in fiction dressed as fact could drive way more engagement than actual science ever could. That shift from education to entertainment that looks like education is where we truly lost the plot. Now, is this a unified effort to trick the masses by these companies? No, they're just trying to make money by feeding you what you want to hear. Actually, maybe the lesson here is that I need to package this message as a conspiracy so it spreads. Okay. These companies are operating in a concerted effort to peddle bullshit and make the masses dumber and more influenceable. Tell that to any jabronis that only have the capacity to think about systems in terms of human actors and simple motivations. But yeah, mystery industrial complex is what I'm calling this loose conglomeration of pseudoscientific nonsense. What do you guys think? Are there any other programs on those channels that we might not know about but are absolutely unhinged? Let us know in the comments.